Hello and welcome back to the first edition of luXperiences presented by DLF Emporio and Harper's Bazaar India, co-sponsored by American Express. This is Sonal Ved. I'm the group digital editor for Harper's Bazaar, and I am so excited to have you guys here today. Let's gear up for an exciting evening of meaningful conversation, performances, and a gala dinner. But let's not forget to thank our sponsors and partners who made all this possible. Mercedes-Benz Silver Arrow 7, the Singleton Social Nicobar, Diageo, Moët and Chandon, Platinum by Ivara. Now I'd like to call upon stage Ms. Savitri Singh of DLF for the opening remarks. May I please request silence at the back? May I please request silence at the back? At the cost of sounding like a school teacher, please, may I please have silence at the back?
A very good evening to all of our wonderful speakers and friends. Today is the inaugural edition of luXperiences, created by the talented team at Harper's Bazaar under the able leadership of Kalli, Rasna, Sakshi, Sonal, Vinod, and Ruchika. We at DLF Emporio are proud to partner with Harper's Bazaar on this timely dialogue on luxury in India. Indians have had a long history with an appreciation for luxury. Our Maharajas were great patrons of the arts, textiles, and jewelry. The Indian luxury consumer today is knowledgeable, discerning, and appreciative of design and craftsmanship. Globally, luxury boomed through the pandemic. India was no different. We saw double-digit annual compounded growth in sales. Almost all of our tenant partners recorded their highest ever sales year after year in these past 4 years. Travel restrictions throughout the pandemic meant that shoppers couldn't travel abroad for their luxury purchases. Our international tenant partners responded to this by bringing their latest collections to India and expanding their range and offering to the Indian luxury consumer. Our Indian luxury brands also upped the ante and offered consumers an enhanced in-store experience. Brands like Gaurav Gupta, Rahul Mishra, and Sabyasachi expanded Indian luxury abroad. DLF Emporio, launched in August 2008, was the first and remains the largest luxury mall in India. We've always endeavored to be at the forefront of luxury and would like to thank our tenant partners for supporting us in this journey. We are very confident that luxury is now ready for the next big leap in India, and we welcome new Indian and international luxury brands. We are expanding DLF Emporio here in Vasant Kunj and across other cities in India. We look forward to some exciting times ahead. Without further ado, let us carry forward the momentum of this wonderful day. Thank you. I'd like to hand it over to Kalli and...
Thank you so much. Our only session for the evening is the discussion on the road ahead for India's fashion industry. For this, I would request Ms. Kalli Purie, Vice Chairperson and Executive Editor-in-Chief, India Today Group, to come on stage and introduce the speaker. But before that, I have something to show y'all. Can we please play?
Good evening. I have the great honor of introducing my favorite recluse in the world, the unbelievable and unstoppable Sabyasachi. I would count as one of my treasured luxuries that he is a good friend of mine and also my tailor. Now, if all of you out there thinking he may be offended by this, I would like to tell you he's pleased as a punch that I called him a tailor. And to find out about this and other things related to Sabya, may I please welcome Sabya to our inaugural DLF Harper's Bazaar luXperience.
Thank you and good evening. And Taylor's just fine because I don't particularly enjoy being called a designer. So Taylor's good enough.
So we're playing a game today. I'm going to say some of Sabya's favorite quotes on luxury, and he's going to elaborate what he meant by them. Ready, set, go.
Don't put me in trouble.
What else is my job? I'm media. Luxury has been part of our ecosystem. Shame on all of us if we don't occupy a position of power in the luxury industry.
You know, I just finished doing a show with the Oberoi at Udaipur. And it was the Concourse, which is basically a celebration of vintage cars from all across the country. And I was looking at all the bespoke Bentleys and Rolls Royces and Chevrolets and Studebakers. Some of them had, cognac bottles and refrigerators, pull-out beds and upholstered with the finest of brocades, leather. And I look at us today and I'm like, where has all this gone? If you look at India and if you look at Indian civilization and if you just look at our past, you'll realize that everybody in this country, rich or poor, have always had some experience, either directly or vicariously, about luxury. Even the poorest of the poor in this country, dress up their homes with rangoli, wear flowers in their hair, would wear artificial jewelry, a little bit of bindi. The spirit of craft and decoration runs so strong in this country that I always want to tell the West that, never ever make the mistake of teaching India luxury. Because the understanding of luxury in this country is so organically rooted and it is so generational that today when the world actually moves on to what I called rarefied luxury or luxury that is born out of craft, not out of brands, India is going to score very big. And that's already happening because I think if you look at the statistics of India, if you look at how proud Indians even are becoming about everything that's homegrown, I think it's coming full circle. A lot of luxury started in India, and while everything in life is cyclical, it's going to come back here again.
Can I please ask the backbenchers, can you give us the luxury of your attention, please? Thank you. Luxury needs to be born from a point of arrogance.
When I look at luxury, commercial luxury brands, one of the most strongest impetus for a person to buy luxury stems from a lack of confidence. And one of the reasons why you don't buy product from a luxury brand. What you buy is an ethos. You buy things that you're inherently looking for within yourself. So luxury really needs to be born from a point of confidence or arrogance, not subjugation, because what happens if and nothing is more powerful than confidence. One of the reasons why, when I look at some of the biggest luxury brands in the world, whether it's Hermes, whether it's Chanel, what they have been able to do, they've been able to hold on to their innate confidence about how they build their brands, which is one of the reasons why people from all over the world go back to them. You will be surprised that the world is full of beautiful people, but the world is also full of very underconfident people. I think when your brand radiates confidence, and confidence has to come from a point of being rooted in who you are, then everybody wants to be a part of the brand.
Luxury is always measured by some sort of distance. And since I'm sitting very close to you, I think I'm doing pretty well today.
You know, when you're in a very crowded room, what is luxury is you wish that you were with fewer people. Luxury is always about crafting distance between you and people. And I think earlier, at one point of time, that distance was measured by money. But right now, the world is becoming more and more democratic about money. You know, a lot of people have money. So when people have a lot of money, how do you define luxury? I think luxury is defined by things that are much more rarefied. So I think luxury today is measured by, let's say, cultural confidence, by craft, by things which are far more intangible than they used to be, because everybody is trying to define luxury in their own way, and which is one of the reasons why I've always said that the more distance you create, the more luxurious you are as a brand, because the distance does not have to be measured by money, it has to be measured by intangibles.
Are you just justifying being a recluse?
No, not really.
I'm teasing you.
I'm a recluse, my brand isn't, thankfully.
Luxury is having fursat. Explain fursat.
I would rather probably change that statement to luxury is created by fursat.
Ah.
You know, fursat for a lot of you people means time to yourself. You know, I think, I don't remember, but there was a poem called Leisure. I don't know if it was Longfellow, which says, what is this life if full of care if you do not have time to stand and stare?
Yes.
And, you know, when I go to Rajasthan, for instance, or when I go to Banaras to revive saris, I don't go and speak to the current generation. I speak to the generation before, the fathers or even the grandfathers, and I tell them that get me your designs and your khakas. And when I look at them, there is a certain amount of wonderment in those designs, and I realize that they have been created because people didn't have so much information at that point of time, and secondly, people had a lot of time in their hand. So people created things with the luxury of time. Yeah. Time is so important because I have a very simple philosophy of building a luxury business, or any business for that matter. A business that takes time to build takes even longer time to destroy. So if you build something with the right foundation, then it'll last a lifetime.
Luxury is being stylish versus being fashionable.
The biggest luxury that you can afford is to be yourself.
Yep.
You know, when you don't have to listen to anybody, you don't have to listen to the world, you can tuck in that extra sandwich, wear clothes that are 20 years old and still feel beautiful in them. Don't have to worry about hair and makeup. Don't have to worry about your neighbors. Don't have to worry about your partner's opinion. But just be happy about who you are. And a woman who finds or discovers comfort and confidence in who she is morphs into somebody who's stylish. You know, fashion is more of a cultural phenomena or a social phenomena. Style is about a personal phenomena. And and one of the reasons why style becomes fashion and fashion never becomes style is because you take inspiration from a person who really is exemplary because of the person. And all of them, you know, every person that I've met in my life, or every person that I've admired, whether it's Rekha, whether it's Frida Kahlo, whether it's Madonna, they have all invented who they are, and they have never been dictated by fashion, and fashion was created because of them. That's why I always say that, you know, style is the genesis of fashion, not the other way around.
Do you think Taylor Swift is the new Madonna? That's not part of the game, but it just came to me.
I don't think so. I know I admire Taylor Swift. I belong to Madonna's generation. The reason I admire Madonna is that, and I'll say the truth. Taylor is a far more talented musician than Madonna ever will be. But what Madonna did was learn to package herself. I admire people who have the ability to build something out of nothing. For me, Madonna is an incredible case study in how you create business by being a great marketing genius. And I consider Madonna to be an icon only because of the fact that she had very little, yet she achieved so much.
Luxury is not about money, it's about finding value.
Luxury has always been about value. And you see, the thing with money is that it's just statistics. It comes and goes, it keeps growing. You can't really base luxury on money because luxury, if the essence of luxury has to be timeless, and if you measure luxury with money, your money will keep changing. So what will happen? What will happen with luxury is the fact that it'll keep on losing its definition or its meaning as your life starts evolving. And I think for me, anything that is value bound and not money bound is something that becomes eternal, and that is true luxury.
Luxury is being an Indian consumer, as they are perhaps the most spoilt in the world. I'm sure Savitri knows that as well. Tell us about this Indian consumer.
The Indian consumer actually has so much luxury in their disposal. You have tailors in your backyard, you have embroiderers in your neighborhood. You can create anything at will. When I have friends visiting me from Bergdorf Goodman, I take them to these small local ateliers in Calcutta. I remember Barkat Ali, and I made Linda Fargo a suit overnight. And she was just flabbergasted that how could you make a suit overnight and made to measure? And I said, Linda, that's India. Everybody does that. When I had no money, I still used to go with a sketch to my local tailor, and for a princely sum of 16 or 17 rupees, I could get a shirt made back in 1982-83. And I think when you have that kind of access to craft, when you have that kind of access to workmanship, you'll always demand the best in the world. And the Indian customer can just drive you batty. Even today, the customer will come and say, can I have that border of that blouse put on that border of that lehenga? Can you change this dupatta to that color? Because this is what they've done all their lives. And I keep saying, good luck with doing that in Chanel and Hermes. But I enjoy that about them because I think, what I like about the Indian consumer in luxury is that they're extremely opinionated, and their opinion comes from life experiences because they've seen so much around. I think it's a very good thing. The most difficult customer in the world to crack. You've cracked them, you've cracked everybody.
So talking of princely sums, you sold your first piece of handmade jewelry for 110 rupees. Phew, I don't know who got those pieces of jewelry. Can you imagine the value today?
My neighbor's doctor.
And she has it. She's kept it.
She does.
She's waiting for an auction.
If it goes live, she knows. Her name is Nandini. And she predicted many years ago that I would eventually sell jewelry at Bergdorf Goodman. I did not even know what Bergdorf Goodman was. I'd never heard of the name.
She's like a clairvoyant.
I think so. I still laugh and joke. I just did training at Bergdorf Goodman, and I was telling all the staff that this is the evolution of the Sabyasachi jewelry.
So your capsule at Bergdorf has had a very good response. But in this world of lab-grown diamonds, what's the space for luxury jewelry? Is it still a good investment?
Anything that is rarefied is going to start increasing in value. And I keep telling people that for the longest time, we have put value on gemstones. But the most important value is actually craftsmanship because it's created by human hand, and craftsmanship all over the world is dying because of digital aid. I mean, today, I remember when we were having this conference at one point of time, writers in LA were protesting about AI. And there are so many journalists here, you know that a lot of your lives will get impacted by the invasion of AI. And I think that as the world becomes more and more and more digital, craft is not only going to become rarer, but it's going to become more valuable. Sabyasachi jewelry bases its premise on actually craftsmanship more than the value of gemstones. If you look at what happened with the Patan patolas, or many other crafts in India that are slowly becoming obsolete and dying, I think it's craftsmanship that is going to become much more valuable than gemstones, and that is going to be the future of jewelry. I'll tell you a little anecdote. At one point of time, everybody in India, a lot of people, not everybody, sorry about that. A lot of people in India bought jewelry to store black money. So everybody used to go and say, can you make me jewelry with zero making? Because they thought that on a rainy day, they could sell that jewelry and get their money back. So they did not want any craftsmanship, they just wanted stones. Good luck with those jewelry now that you have got artificial gemstones in the market.
Finally, poetic revenge.
Absolutely.
When we spoke last, which was in 2017, we've spoken after that, but formally on a stage, you were being panned for dressing Vidya in a sari at Cannes. Today, you have rave reviews for dressing Deepika in a sari for the BAFTA. You have the luxury of being proven right, but can you explain this journey? What has exactly changed, according to you?
I think representation matters. And I've always said that when you go out into the West, it's very important to represent where you come from because that's when you stand out. Because why do something in the West that they can do better than you? I think it's extremely important to have representation of who you are, where you come from, because then the real people notice you and you get valued for who you are or not what you can become. I think when Vidya got criticized, India was also changing because, we did have a hangover for the longest time and colonial hangover for the longest time. And a lot of Indians were uncomfortable about being Indian. But today, this has completely changed. Today, Indians are very proud of being who they are, and rightfully so. And I always say something that, when you want to build a brand, it's very important to build a brand with integrity. Some people will admire you, some people will dislike you. But in the path of admiration and criticism, you need to stay strong, and eventually the whole world will come to celebrate you. And I think everything comes full circle when you stand your ground.
Do you think that, this is an off question, do you think that Prime Minister Modi, with the way he dresses, is a great ambassador for Indian fashion and Indian craftsmanship? Because he always has the really beautiful shawls and, the Indian clothes and buttons and everything.
Absolutely. And what I admire probably the most is the fact that he speaks in Hindi wherever he goes. In India, what bothers me is that if you don't speak English, which is not really your national language, you don't get too far because you get criticized for not being able to speak your own language. But yet at the same time, you go to France and you get completely intimidated because the French don't speak anything apart from their own language. I think the French are marketing geniuses. They have created a great industry in luxury by just being arrogant about who they are and stuck to it. And luxury is a game of intimidation. When you stay strong and when you stand your ground, it's a matter of time till everybody else becomes a little more subservient to you. India should take a leaf out of that.
It seems in 2017, the two people who really believed in India was you and Prime Minister Modi. You saw the power of brand India, which we are all seeing now in 2024. You're a bit of a clairvoyant yourself.
I don't know about Mr. Modi, but I've always thought this is an incredible country and needs to be celebrated. Because the more I go out in the world, the more I realize what an incredible country and an exceptional country that it is. And I always say one thing to people, that it's very important for you to create your own standards. Let standards not be dictated by the West.
So you said exceptional country. One of the ways that we come out as exceptional and completely unique is our weddings. And you've done a lot of celebrity weddings, and you're known for the Sabyasachi bride. What to you is the ultimate statement of luxury at a wedding?
You know, I think for me, the ultimate statement of luxury in a wedding is actually reticence, because, you know, I think it's very important to be able to do a lot by doing little. And I think if your cultural arrogance comes back in your weddings, it's brilliant. While it's great to have imported flowers, it's great to have musicians coming from all over the world, there is so much of unique art and craft in this country. I think if your weddings are more DIY, and if they are more Indian, it's just so much more fun because it just feels so much more authentic.
Yes, that's true. So, like you've just said, come on, you can give a better applause than that. So,
No, I just want to say, Marut's clapping because I think he's the finest Indian chef that we have in the country. And Marut, everybody only, you know, like, every time we do food, we always ask Marut to curate the food for us because he gets the finest of Indian food. And he's very unapologetic about Indian food. And you should lead the way, Marut.
he is my other treasured luxury because, like you're my tailor, he's my cook sometimes. So, like you just said, you know, the big fat Indian wedding is not the statement. It's the smaller wedding, the one which is more DIY. You say a lot of things which are antithesis to set beliefs about fashion and luxury. Things like fashion should not keep changing. You don't believe in fashion weeks. You don't go to parties. You don't take pictures. You believe in flat shoes. You have a limited wardrobe. You like a woman who ages. You're almost #unfashion. Explain that.
You know, fashion is a marketing phenomenon. I have always said that for the longest time, we've made a lot of money by keeping people insecure, but that is not really sustainable. I said, I think that when you bring security back to people by letting them celebrate themselves and not a vision of who they can be, people actually come back. You know, I have women in my organization who's worn that one shade of lipstick all their lives. You go to my stores, women fight with us if we change a design by altering the sleeve length. Because I think when a woman finds her identity, she starts celebrating herself. It's almost, you know, it can be, becoming a new person every day could almost be like as traumatic as changing geographies or changing homes. And women in Sabyasachi, all my customers, come back to buy the same thing again and again. I don't think we have customers who care about fashion. They just care about good quality and good clothes and timelessness, which is one of the reasons why, you know, like about 7 years ago, I spoke to a lot of women in Calcutta who have some of my best clothes, which I must have done between 2000 and 2004. And I offered 20 times the price for women to return the clothes to me. Buy back, because I didn't have an archive, and I'm trying to build one.
I'm not selling you mine back. You can offer me whatever you want.
And not a single one of them accepted that offer. They said, we'll loan you the clothes, but we'll never sell it back to you. And I kept saying, why? They said, it's so timeless that even our grandchildren can wear it. And I'm very proud to say that 25 years hence, we have not changed our stance on what our business should be about.
So you've talked a lot about this, and it seems confidence is the new luxury. We have a lot of people here, women especially. What would be your advice to finding that inner confidence?
Eat well, sleep well, love a little more, and just be happy with yourself. You know, I come from a family which is very functional, dysfunctional but extremely functional. I take my strength from the fact that my parents are happily married. You know, they've been married for 53 years, and
Wow.
they're still insanely in love with each other. And when I look at that stability, it makes me realize that nothing is more important than happiness. When you find your happiness internally, clothes will just be a mere add-on. They can't do much more than that.
Wow. So would you say that's your ultimate luxury, having this loving, stable family?
Absolutely, and I would not change it for anything else in the world.
And in the end, the question we began with in 2017, you have said that fashion, being so public and social, always makes a political statement. What's the statement you're making now with the work that you're doing? And it's not just in clothes. You're in jewelry, you're in textiles, you're going into skincare and all kind of other things. So what is the political statement that you're making?
You know, the power is slowly shifting from the west to the east. What I'm trying to do is in my own little way, I'm trying to break the glass ceiling. I find it very distressing that such a rich country and the whole world at some point of time has drawn inspiration from this country, service the best in this country, whether it's been Cartier or Hermes or Chanel, and luggage makers, furniture makers, architects. And we don't have a single luxury brand from this country of global stature. In my lifetime, I would like to change that.
Wow.
Thank you.
So in conclusion, a favorite quote of Sabya's by Tagore, a bit paraphrased: "You have traveled all over the world looking for beauty, never knowing that beauty actually lay on a dewdrop on a blade of grass right next to your doorstep." So ladies and gentlemen, it is right here, right now. Have a wonderful evening. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. Do we have time for 2 questions? Sorry, Sabya, I concluded, but like we're going back. That's the luxury of being a boss. You can just like expand the time. Do we have a question? Go for it.
Hi. So first of all, inspiring.
So
and
first, can I
inspired-
introduce you? This is
Oh,
Kim.
sure. Hi.
She's the global editorial director for Harper's Bazaar, Cosmopolitan, all of Hearst.
Sabya, literally, you're the only one in the room. Honestly, inspired, inspiring, amazing. So I have a very practical question, I guess. You've managed to create this amazing brand that has transcended borders. Were there challenges, or was it an instant success when you came to New York or to other places in other parts of the world?
You know, I went to New York in 2005, 2006. The only person who actually picked me up was not a New Yorker. It was Joan Burstein from Browns. I didn't really make it into New York retail, not to Bergdorf Goodman, not to Saks, because I was not prepared. I didn't have a line sheet. And everybody was telling me that this is not New York enough, this is not America enough. And I said that, you know, if I have to pander to people's expectations of what I want to be, I'll never have a brand. And I also realized one very important thing, that unless you have money and power, it'll be very, very difficult for you to be able to shape your narrative and stick to it. So I said, and I met Susie Menkes at that point of time, and she said, why do you want to even conquer the West when you should conquer the East? She said, go back to your country, become a big star. You can always come back whenever you want. And I thank God that I listened to her. And I said to myself, you know, I don't accept defeat. I might momentarily retreat, but I know what I want to do in my life. And I said that this is not the right time. I'll come back. But when I come back, I'll come back with my own narrative, which can be unshakable. And that's why I think for a designer, the best thing that you can do is to come back with your own retail store so that you don't have to worry about anybody. And we've got good press. Business has been good. So second time lucky. Thank you.
Is there some kind of anecdote or story about like a famous pushback Bollywood style, where somebody pushed you back and then you got a chance to go back and say, now I'm here. You know, like the pretty woman when she goes back to the store and says, yeah. And then everyone has to line up like behind her. Did something like that happen?
No, nothing that dramatic, but what I liked was the fact that, you know, when people come into my New York store, they have an aha moment because, you know, they have an idea about what India is, and they see this, and they say that, you know, we could never imagine this to be an Indian store. So I think in many ways, the store has broken stereotypes, and I'm very grateful for that.
Thank you. Another question? Sonal,
Yeah, yes.
digital editor for Lifestyle Group.
So I think Kalli has asked you everything intellectual that we could have probably asked you tonight. So I'm going to ask you a very first date question.
First date or first day?
First date question, something supremely generic, is if you were not a fashion designer, who would you be?
I would either be a filmmaker or a gardener. Thank you.
Love that.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.